Hey guys, so my name is Francisco Madeira. I'm a full stack developer. I'm from Portugal, and I'm also the co-author of Termwind. So, what is Termwind? Termwind, in short, is basically like Tailwind CSS, but for the CLI applications. We are using as a main API to write just HTML. So we took a modern approach from Tailwind CSS with utility classes, and we took a comfortable approach that every web developer knows how to do HTML, I hope. And Termwind was created by the one and only Nuno Maduro. That is not here, unfortunately. He's jealous, he told me. So that's it. So before Termwind, to style for the CLI was really hard to write, and to read is impossible to maintain and takes loads of time to figure out what are the correct escape codes. So let me show you an example. Here we have this. We can find here, okay, that's some kind a bold. So maybe it's a bold text, and there are some spaces before, some spaces after, space in between, and there are some kind of escape code that is weird. We can't figure that out. So, and this just renders exactly this. So, what in the world are we able to maintain something like that? If anything changed here, we don't know what will be the output. So, let's go directly to live code. So, just to write this example, I will show you how it works with Termwind. So, I have here just as an empty project with just Termwind imported. So we are using this render function, and let me show you how this works. So I can go ahead and add a div and just say bold. Let's run it. Let me see. Okay. Let me put this probably bigger. Okay, cool. So, and as you can see, it works. It renders this HTML. So we can go ahead, and here we can use some classes. For example, what we saw there was a background of blue. So we can go with blue 500, for example. This color is available on Tailwind. So if you don't know what this means, this 500, but you can figure that is some kind of blue. So if we run it again, as you can see, it turns the background blue. We can go and add a padding on the left, or in the padding on the right, or even better, we can add a padding on the x-axis, and if we run it, it works like this. And go ahead and add some margin of 2 spaces on the x-axis as well. And also what was on there was a font bold and a text of red, or some kind of red. So let's go with 500. Let's see. And as you can see, this is way more readable, right? So what can we do even to improve the output even better? Normally, what I do on every CLI application is to give some breathing room on top and on the bottom, and from the corners, from the left and on the right. So what we can do is adding one more div here, and we can go and add here a margin of on top of 1 and a margin of bottom of 1, or we can also switch this to a margin on the y-axis of 1 and a margin on the x-axis of 2 to add some spaces. And if we render this, we have some breathing room on top and on the bottom, but here we have 4 spaces. That's because we also have the margin added on the child. So Termwind also supports the inheritance, just like we have on the browser. So if I render again, this will look just like this. So let me show you a few more things. Let's get rid of this red because it looks bad. So let's go and change this to full stack EU. And let's go, and okay, looks good. And then we can add another div. It will create another line exactly like it works for the browser. So we can go with the coolest conference out there. Okay, and it will render as a new line. But if you want to add this on the side here, we can also do that. So we can wrap this up in a new div and change this to some inline elements, like a span, for example. And if I run it, it will render on the side. Okay, so let's get some space here, so a margin left of 1, and we are cool. Let's change maybe the text to gray. To gray, for example, gray 500. Let's see how this looks. Okay, maybe 2. Let's change it. And we are styling this on the go. Normally, we do that for our websites or something that has the CSS available. Normally, we do this multiple ones to see the output changing. So we can go with an italic, and it basically just works like this. So what can we do here more to improve the output? We can go here and add an header, for example. That's right. We can also support the HTML5 tags on the CLI application. It will not do anything for SEO, but will improve your organization of the code here. So we can go and let's switch this off to an H1 and full stack EU. And let's say we can go with a background of blue, same blue, and some text center with full, let's font bold in here. Let's say how this looks. Okay, cool. Maybe a margin bottom here. Okay, and also we can go and add a padding on the top and padding on the bottom, for example, or maybe do some refactoring and change this to PI, and it works just as you can see. So let's go and add, we want to maybe add the year here. So let's go and add the year, and maybe we want the year on the right and this title on the left. How can we do that? So there is a couple of ways to do that, as just like we have multiple ways of doing things for the web. So we can, for example, here change this H1 to width, half of the width, and change this span to the same half of the width, and then use text right to line to the right side. And maybe here we remove the text center, since that doesn't make sense, and that basically just works. Let's add some padding just to improve the spacing, and basically it just works. But there is already a better way to do that. We can go ahead and use the flex class. And here, with the flex class, we can use the justify between that we use also for the web. And with that, we can get rid of this. And this text right also, we can get rid, and it will basically work the same way. Even better, because it's not strict to the half of the width for each element. So if I get some kind of background color here, so if I change this to, it will not look good, but if I change this to another blue, it only be related to that text. Okay, let's remove that. And let's add, for example, another div here, so another element. So let's go with the footer. And for the footer, let's say you can learn more about the conference here. So let's say, and let's add this, an A tag. That's right, you can also have an A tag on CLI applications. So let's say full stack Europe.com. So if I run it again, it will not look fancy, but I can now click this and it will open on the browser. So let's go ahead and style this even better. So let's go with margin top of 1 here, add some gray background, text center, and let's see how this looks. Okay, maybe add the width full to take the full space. There is not a lot of full space, but there was. So with this, I see an opportunity to make just a quick refactor. There is an utility class available on Tailwind that is also available on Termwind, that is the space I utility. So with that, we can remove the margin bottom here, and the margin top on the footer. And it will basically do exactly the same because it will add spaces between all the childs. So let's run it, and it will look exactly the same. But if we add another div here, we don't need to bother to add another margin to have the space. So this is a pretty cool utility function that I use all the time on my CLI applications. So what can we do here to improve this? And so let's change this to a day. Day 1 and October 6th. And let's see, maybe change this to a green. I'd say green, text black. Let's see how this looks. And let's run it. Okay. Looks good to me. And then what can we do after? We can go ahead and add the schedule. So we can go with the span and add 8:30, I think, was the first thing, and then registrations. So let's just style this a bit. Let's, for example, go with the text blue, 500, font bold. Yes, we can take advantage of that space, but in this case on the x-axis. And let's see how this looks. Okay, pretty good so far. So normally we see applications for the terminal with this kind of stuff that fills the rest of the space. And how can we do that without counting all the left space to fill this? We can go with the flex on the parent, and then here we can use the flex one class, and it will take the full space. And then we can use a class that's the only one class that is not available on Tailwind, that is the content repeat class. That makes sense to the CLI, but does not make sense for the browser. And with just that, let's run it. We achieve the same thing, but it will adapt to the left space you have also because of this flex one. And let's go ahead and change this to text gray, like standard, and this basically works. So let's add, for example, another day, just another event. So opening, I guess it was 9:30, and then we have here the first talk that was from my friend Kaneko, World of Frontcraft by Kaneko. Okay, and it should just work. Okay, probably too much space, so let's wrap all the day on a new div. A lot of HTML over here, but it's super simple to understand how this works and how simple it is to work with Termwind. So let's wrap this each day on a single div, so it works. It looks really good, in my opinion, and I think you guys agree with me. So let's go ahead and add another day, just for the sake of an example. And here is the October 7 on day 2, and let's just run it. Kaneko did not speak on that. I think I messed up somewhere. Okay, here, there it is. Indeed. Okay, go and run it again. Okay, let's remove Kaneko from here. Let's just keep this. And as you can see here, we have this day 1 and day 2. They have a lot of classes. And we have a way to create a custom class with Termwind. So we can go ahead and copy those classes, and here on top, import a new function called the style function. And here we can go and style title, and just like on Tailwind, we can apply what classes we want for this title. And then let's go ahead and find the other two. We can refactor this and change this to title, and it will be basically do exactly the same thing, but you created a custom class for that. What we can even do to extend our looks. For example, imagine if your brand has some kind of a different kind of color, you can tweak a color as well with Termwind. So with this style function, we can go and change the green 500 to be the color, and the only color that I know from memory is the BADA 55, the bad S color. And if I run it again, it basically just works like this. So you can customize your colors just like you do normally on your Tailwind config.js file. So what can even we do more here with Termwind? We, as you can see, in this case, let me just bring the font a bit down. We have the terminal that we are making multiple runs, so it's super full of things, and the output is not that clean because it shows multiple runs. So we can import the terminal class, the terminal function, and just go ahead and say terminal clear. Terminal clear, and if we run it, it basically cleans the whole terminal before it shows the content. That's pretty cool for some CLI applications. That's what people want to just see the output of the response from that run. Also, another thing that we also added on Termwind is the ask method. Let me show you. The ask method, like just the name says, let's put this on top. It's just to ask a question for the user. So let's go ahead and use this ask. It works exactly like the render method, but will prompt some question to the user. So we can go ahead, in this case, add an inline class. Let's go and add some margin on the left of 2 and the padding on the x-axis, the background green with that badass color, but green 500, and let's say we font bold, and let's say, are you enjoying the conference? Of course, that's a simple answer, but there is only one possible answer. So let's run it, and okay, does not read well, so let's get text black here. Okay, let's run it again. Okay, and yes, and it asks the question as you saw it, and then clears the terminal, and then handles the next section. We can get the answer by just getting the response for that function. So let's show this over here. So the answer are, let me copy the text. Are you enjoying the conference? Are you enjoying the conference? And let's show the answer here. And wrap this with the bold tag. PHP index, and yes. And as you can see, you can use that on your next render or something that makes sense for your CLI applications. So let's get back onto the slides. And so even after you saw this, all those examples, why should you bother style a CLI application? It's just a CLI application. No really user will use that. Why should we bother styling? Because you can make it user-friendly. We can make easier to the eye. We can make it something memorable. And the most important for me is you can save time from the end user. And for example, there is just a fatal error from PHP, and as you can see, it's not easy to figure what is going on. We can see it's a fatal error, undefined constant on line 7. It's not that quick to figure out where is the error. So if we see an output just like collision, for example, it's way easier to the eye and way easier to find where was the error. So that is why you should bother styling our CLI applications. So before I finish, let me show you a project that is inside of a framework. In this case, it's Laravel 0 framework. Laravel 0 is just like Laravel, but for the just CLI applications. So in here, I'm using the render method from Termwind, and I'm rendering a view. That's possible with Laravel view, but it's also possible with a Symfony view or something that's that is stringable. So let me show you just the view. And as you can see, that's normal stuff that we use on our blade templates for the web, with some for eaches, with some conditions, and all of that. But on just a view file, so it's not directly on our PHP classes or something like that. So let me just run this application just for you to see. Let me application games, and let me maybe zoom this out. Let's see. Okay, should be good. And as you can see, it's a live scores application with some football matches. Some football matches that we can see the time, the real time for that game, and and the goals and and the teams and all of that. So we are working on something that refreshes the content automatically. So we are adding this function called live that accepts the closure, and we can pass the view, and then here we can refresh every, let's go with 1 second. And if we run this again, let's go application games. As you can see, it auto updates. In this case, just updates the seconds. In this case, it's just update the second, not the goals, because of just this example, but you can see the point. And we are also working with another feature that's normally not available in PHP applications at the moment. That is a way to select the game with our arrows. Normally we see something like you want to see the game 1, you press 1, or you want to see the game 2, you press 2, and that normally is not interactive. So we are working with the function that is called the select function. Let me show you. And basically, I'm moving my selection with the arrows. It's built on top of live, so it re-renders every second, like we see here. But allows us also to move the cursors on the runtime. So let me go ahead and just show you a detail of the game. There's also built on top of live, as you can see here, and also we are using that clear to only have the game's detail. And that's super clean, super easy to use and to build this kind of outputs for our terminal or for our CLI applications. Another fun fact that we can do here is we are used to on the browser to use auto reloading when we are working with CSS. And we make a change on our CSS, and it automatically updates on the browser without needing to refresh the page. So with this live function, we can do exactly that. So let me run again the application. We can do exactly the same. So we have here the games. Let's change one style here. So the game time is this text red 400. Let's change this to green 600, for example. And without making any rerun, it basically changed the output. So you can style just like you do on the web. You can style and save and make multiple changes. So we can go with background gray 500, and it will basically update on the go. And we go, okay, this does not look good. This text green, it looks bad. So we can go with text white. And you have this opportunity to work quickly with your styles with this live function that we are working on. So to wrap up, let me get back to the slides. There is one design I made for Laravel Health package that is from Spatie. And as you can see, it looks super clean. And if you see the view of this, it's nothing special, nothing that any web developer do not know from there. Also, you probably also just already saw this output on package discover from Laravel. and that's right. Termwind was included in the Laravel framework and just passed 4,500,000 downloads already. So that's pretty cool. And that's it for me. So thank you. I hope you guys enjoy.